everybody. This is the 23rd episode of the Do No Evil, Speak No Evil show. I'm your guest. I'm your host, Blair Neher, aka the Chief Primate. This is a show where I interview awesome individuals making a positive local impact. Today my guest is Joshua Stutz from Feedmore. Josh is the Corporate Relations Manager for Feedmore, so welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I appreciate you coming on the show, man, coming down. All right, so first things first, I like to get right into people's story, their passion, and how you ended up getting involved with Feedmore.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story. A year and a half ago, I lived in Los Angeles, sunny Southern California.
Yeah.
Finished back up to you. So before working at Feedmore, I've been working in nonprofits for around 10 years, primarily in the historic ship preservation world.
Oh, interesting.
So museum ships. So I was part of groups that preserved and taught about historic Navy ships.
That's wild.
It was a pretty cool, interesting career field, and I never thought I'd leave it. It was a lot of really fun spending my day getting paid to professionally talk about ships and to teach about them and things like that. It was a lot of fun.
So did you ever get your hands dirty? Did you actually get to do any woodwork or?
Sometimes. The last ship I worked on was the battleship Iowa in Los Angeles, San Pedro, the harbor there. Occasionally I'd have to come out and help tighten lines, or whenever work needed done, it was that old, Steve Jobs, everyone sweeps the floor, right? So whenever something needed done, the education staff, the tour staff, whatever it took, had to get out and do some of the work.
So which version of the Iowa is it? Aren't there multiple?
Yes, so the Iowa's been through multiple renovations and modernizations. That's really cool that you know that. It's a beautiful ship. But it's preserved to its 1990 state.
Okay.
So after the renovations and modernizations that were made in the 1980s to bring her back to life.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I like the game, and there's a game called World of Warships with.
Yeah, I'm all over it.
With historically accurate battleships and everything. It's very interesting to me. Anyway, so
my team
proceed.
on the Iowa actually runs a Twitch stream where they play World of Warships as the Iowa.
Nice.
A couple of the guys I used to work with actually do that now as part of the education outreach piece. It was a lot of fun. They bring on World War II vets and run, or Navy veterans in general, but it started with World War II vets and talk to them about their experiences on the ship while they play the game.
Oh,
which was kind of cool.
That's awesome. Did they have a good following?
It's not great. The audience of people who watch Twitch streams and the folks who are interested in World War II history or in that specific thing, it's a loyal niche audience. Yeah. So I did that for a while, and that was a passion I had for a long time. And I started working on the USS Missouri in Pearl Harbor, actually, because my wife was in the military and we were stationed in Hawaii, and that kind of became a thing where I was a tour guide and then an educator for the Missouri. And then when we moved to California, I linked up with the guys at the Iowa and spent a lot of time working there.
Those are amazing vehicles.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyhow,
we could do a whole different episode where I just talk about ships for a couple hours.
Sorry to distract you, but you caught my attention right away with that.
For sure. It's arguably the most interesting thing I have done or will probably ever do.
Okay. Awesome.
So we moved here. My wife's family's from here, and when I finished graduate school, I went to grad school for nonprofit management, sort of living in that museum space, wanting to be a part of bigger issues around us and fundraising and learning more about how the business of a museum operates. We came to Richmond, so no historic ships anymore, and started looking around for jobs other places. Spent some time at a different organization here that wasn't a great fit for me. Left them in June of last year and spent about a month off riding my bike before I found work at Feedmore in early August. It was a great fit.
Nice. So Feedmore is a massive organization supporting Central Virginia, combating hunger. Give us the big view of what Feedmore does.
Yeah, so Feedmore is a Feeding America affiliated food bank, as well as a Meals on Wheels of America site. We are the only combined Feeding America and Meals on Wheels site in the country, which is really cool. We're combining the feeding folks through food banks as well as a bunch of other services. So our territory as a food bank covers 29 counties and 5 cities, so 34 localities across Central Virginia. We stretch from the Northern Neck, Westmoreland, Northumberland County, all the way down to the border with North Carolina. huge area. Around 225,000 people receive some level of service from us throughout a year.
Wow.
Last year we served 23 million meals and a total of 29 million pounds of food through our programs to those 225,000 people spread across those 34 localities.
250,000.
Yeah. Virginia is an interesting state for food insecurity. A fairly wealthy state in terms of how states rank, but still slightly above average for the nation in terms of food insecurity.
Yeah.
And it's an issue in our service area that touches rural and urban areas pretty actively. We have 5 cities in our service area, but we're also in those 29 counties get pretty rural. And there's different challenges with meeting those different populations, and we're finding food insecurity in the same rates out in the sticks as we are in super urban, sort of blighted areas as well.
Wow. That's interesting. You would think it's more of an urban challenge.
People think that's a city problem, yeah. But it's definitely something we're starting to see over the past 10 years or more in rural communities as well. And then the issue is the further you get from a city becomes about access. So it's not just about issues tied to poverty or long-term intergenerational issues, but a county might have one grocery store.
Right.
That's a 30 or 40 mile drive for some people.
Which don't have a car,
yeah,
etc. Gotcha.
So those issues are amplified the further you get from a city, I think.
Okay. Awesome. So I know that Feedmore's recently gone through a rebranding, a 10-year mark. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So our team, right after I started with Feedmore, we had a full logo change, full rebranding. We had hit 10 years as an organization. So the organization's history goes back to the 1960s when Meals on Wheels of Central Virginia started operating in this area. Central Virginia Food Bank started sometime later, and then in 2008, those organizations combined to make Feedmore. So a lot of people here still refer to us as the Central Virginia Food Bank, and I go to things, Chamber of Commerce things, some events where we're still listed as Central Virginia Food Bank, even after 10 years as Feedmore. But those two organizations came together and now operate as Feedmore. After 10 years as Feedmore, we decided it was time to sort of look at a new brand, new way to launch ourselves out there into the community, and we came up with our new logo and new sort of caretaker approach to branding and talking about the work that we do. We like to focus on sort of 3 key areas of our work. We focus on feeding families, feeding children, and feeding seniors. And those are kind of the big 3 buckets that you could kind of lump our programming into.
Okay.
So for feeding families, that's a lot of the food banking services. So that's the logistics of the work that we do. We have a network of 300 partner agencies across our service area. Those are food pantries, soup kitchens, communal feeding programs. A lot of them are in churches, for example. Mm-hmm. Those are folks who get food primarily from Feedmore, and we send trucks from our distribution center a couple blocks from here out to the furthest reaches of our communities to those 300 partner organizations, and they feed people in their communities with food provided by us. So we're part of this large network, and we can leverage massive buying power and the presence of our location in Richmond to really be advantageous for those folks that live further and further out.
Right, they're getting the best deal possible because of the work you guys do.
Exactly. So if you come down to our distribution center, it looks like any sort of industrial warehouse type environment, and there's a loading dock out back. We have a refrigerated loading dock and all sorts of things being moved around. I joked the other day about moving boxes. A lot of boxes get moved every day.
Right on. So what is the new slogan?
So our sort of focuses on, as Feedmore, we like to use the term now for our, when we refer people to the work that we do, you can go to our website to either give help or get help. So there's some new work being done around driving traffic to do outreach for the work that we do. So we want to make sure people are utilizing our services. So if you want to support the work that we do or learn more about how Feedmore can help you in your community, you can go to our website to give help or get help.
Right on. And I always drop the website in the description of the actual show or the podcast so people can click right on it.
Great.
While they're watching. And we'll talk more about that. Yeah, I had Kim Hill on with the Chesterfield Food Bank, and they're in, my part of town, and it's an organization that's very near and dear to me. I don't really have a question. I just know that they are one of the many organizations that get their food from you guys, and they're doing some amazing things down there.
They're a great example of a partner agency, the type of organization that is a partner agency of ours. And they go above and beyond. They do more than many of our other partner agencies do. Yep. They do a lot of their own programming and their own food drives and things like that as well. And then we exist as a resource for them to supplement the work that they're doing in their community.
Their summer programs at the schools are something else.
Yeah, so that's part of what we do all over the county, all of our service area as well. The summer food service program, where we're feeding kids as part of the summertime when school meals aren't available.
Yeah.
There's 10 meals that are not budgeted for as part of the family's sort of regular routine. If the kids are in school 32 weeks a year, getting breakfast and lunch at school, well, summertime hits and there's this huge gap that they may not have the resources to cover, and the summer food service program is really important for that.
Yeah, and sometimes you hear those are the only 2 meals they get in a day. It's just the heart-wrenching stories that come out of these food banks. They're just something else for the food challenged. So let's get into all your programs. Let's talk about all the different programs you have going.
So I mentioned the food banking. That's sort of a huge part of what we do. That's feeding families, feeding seniors. I mentioned Meals on Wheels earlier. We serve around 1,000 people a day with Meals on Wheels. We do 14 localities for Meals on Wheels, so that doesn't cover our entire service area. It's basically Greater Richmond and Tri-Cities. We do feed around 1,000 people a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And then we even provide weekend meals for those folks who want them to get through the weekend. That's a program that exists nationally. Meals on Wheels does. It is for homebound seniors. There's no income barrier to access to Meals on Wheels. So for folks who can't leave their house or have issues getting out to get groceries, who are socially isolated, Meals on Wheels is a great way to provide a healthy meal every day. And as a daily welfare check. I think that's one of the things people don't think about with Meals on Wheels, is that when we make that delivery, that's our opportunity to interact with that individual, somebody who may not have seen somebody since the day before when their other meal was delivered. So these, as folks get up there in age and family move away or aren't around as much, the Meals on Wheels program becomes really important to providing people not only a nutritious meal, but additional safety and security in their environments. Yeah. It allows people to stay in their homes for longer than they otherwise would.
Yeah, just check on people.
Yeah, so that's for seniors. Children are a huge part of who we serve as well. Of the 225,000 people we serve, around 50,000 of those in our service area are children. And we provide food to kids as part of after-school meals through our Kids Cafe program, which is a program we participate in through Feeding America. We're providing after-school meals and healthy snacks in schools around the area, participating schools around the area, and not just schools. There are other types of sites, qualifying sites as well, but it's essentially for kids get done with school, they go to an after-school program, and we feed them as part of that, so that their next meal isn't school breakfast.
Yeah.
We don't want them to have to go overnight without having to have access to food.
Yeah.
The summer food service program, we run that pretty well around our area as well. So we have plenty of sites, YWCAs, I believe, different YMCA youth development type programs, Boys and Girls Clubs, who we're feeding people on the summers as well. The backpack program is another important aspect of our children's programming. Backpacks, a lot of groups around town do backpacks.
Yeah.
The idea is that you give a kid a backpack full of food on a Friday, and they don't have to worry necessarily about access to food over the course of the weekend when there may not be adequate food sources at home.
Yep.
So we do 2,000 backpacks a week that we distribute 32 weeks a year through different school districts around the area. And each of those backpacks contains enough food for 6 meals that are fairly easy for a kid to prepare, and a lot of canned goods, a lot of quick, easy things, so the kid doesn't have to rely on an adult that may or may not be there.
Gotcha.
It's really a horrifying reality when you think about it.
Yeah.
The idea that a third or fourth grader has to fend for themselves to that extent is just something that is a challenge that we're up against.
That's nuts. And every time you talk to somebody in these organizations like yourself, you hear these stories and it just doesn't compute.
Yeah. We did a mobile pantry a couple of weeks ago It was at one of the public housing communities around, and I got to actually go out and be a part of the distribution. Mobile pantries are something that we do in support of when an area of town or an organization wants to have us there, where there isn't one of our existing partner agency or isn't access to a food pantry, we've got trucks that will bring out and do mobile pantry distributions and give everybody fresh food. And this is one of our holiday-driven programs. And we had a group of, it was a day that it had snowed and school was off, so there were quite a few kids coming over on their own to, 7, 8-year-old kids to grab boxes with 40 pounds of food to haul back. And there were adults home, but these kids were having to go out and do this and fend for themselves. And it
in the snow.
In the snow. But I admire those kids for their determination and their arm strength, because I was struggling. I'd help a few folks with boxes back to their house and some heavy stuff. So
hunger's a motivator for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue to name drop, but Andrea Starr.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how she prefers to say it. Andrea Starr from Imprint.
Yeah.
I had her on the show recently.
And they have a backpack program
exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of groups around town doing the backpack thing. It's a tried and true method of supporting kids and with hunger issues, and we're happy to see people doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, more name dropping. I know Mark Smith is with Midas of Richmond, is a huge part of what you guys do. I had him on the show, and just talk a little bit about Mark's relationship with Feedmore.
Mark's been a great supporter of ours. Great local businessman. That episode that he did was really interesting about his work out there with Midas. Kind of even before I started working at Feedmore, I would hear about Feedmore all the time on the radio. And we're fortunate to have a lot of really great corporate champions around Richmond. And Mark is one of the strongest and most vocal about his support of the work that we do. And I think it's important because he's tied to the work. He talks about his experiences and with that issue, and it's clearly important to him. Mm-hmm. And that stretches, that is very genuine, and that goes a long way for people.
Yeah.
So we get great support from Cause Marketing through his store programs that he's done for us in the past, and other ways he's supported us in the work that we do. I'm pretty sure he's been on our board at various points as well. I don't want to say that with certainty. I don't do board relations necessarily, so it's.
I'm pretty sure you're accurate on that.
Yeah. I hate to say it and then have it be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure. So we've had a long history. He was in the office just recently, and he's great character and good. Always has a positive attitude around Feedmore, and is somebody we're happy to have out there for us.
The rumor is he does all those takes, all those commercials in one shot.
That's what he says. That's what I heard him talk about. We're actually having him at our Synapse meeting next week. He's the guest speaker for our Hubba Hubba next week.
Yeah, and I grilled him about that, but and JT Stevens told me, like, all right, we're gonna. He had some commercial. All right, we're gonna do it a couple takes. He's like, no, just let me talk. And he on the mark, timed it perfectly. That's a skill.
Yeah, that's a skill that I don't know that I could pull off.
If I had to fit this show into a box, I would fail miserably. So
yeah.
That's why I don't have one. All right, so one more name. Dominic with Shalom Farms is another local positive individual. I'm trying to get him on the show. He said he would. I just haven't got that scheduled yet. Talk a little bit about what they do and how they're affiliated with Feedmore. They're another amazing organization.
Absolutely, and I'm always impressed by what Richmond has to offer. What we have around Richmond in terms of nonprofit organizations and people doing really good work. But Shalom Farms in the past has been a supplier of vegetables for our programming. We work together on a few different programs to supply fresh vegetables as part of farmers markets in low-income areas. And I know Dom has a relationship with our CEO, Doug Pick, as well. And so there's some work going on, bigger projects going on between Feedmore and Shalom Farms that are in the works right now and are part of a larger effort that we're getting out there to better provide fresh produce to our rural communities.
Yeah, I can't wait to get him on. I love the farming aspect of things. I actually brought you a dozen eggs.
That's so nice.
From my chickens.
That's right. You mentioned your chickens. That's awesome.
I have such a surplus right now that I'm like, here, take them.
That's great.
I would start selling them if the government wouldn't come after me.
Just licensing. Yeah, that's too bad.
Like I'd have to have inspections and stuff, but those are as free range as they get. So enjoy.
That's cool. They're not going to hatch, are they?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't have a rooster.
That's good.
And they're fresh, so those will last several weeks.
Cool. I don't know if they will. I'm cooking them tonight, so that's good.
I love breakfast dinner. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Eggs and bacon? Sure.
Any day.
All right. So let's talk about your events coming up. I know you have a big one coming up, and just in general, the year-round events that we can tune into.
Feed Motor is one of those companies or organization, we're really fortunate to have such good community partners that there's almost always a cause marketing initiative happening around town. That's something for us that we really appreciate.
Yeah.
A lot of great local businesses who do some portion of sales for either an item or a week here and there, and you can go to our website and see, but at any given point we've got something going on. R&R Tire is an example of somebody doing something for us year round. For all the food banks in the areas that they service, they're doing a program. And Eat Restaurant Partners does a Round Up the Change campaign or a receipt-based giving campaign for us during the holidays. And a lot of really great community partners that you can basically at any time of the year you can go out and find a way to support Feed More.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is really cool. The big event we have coming up is Zest Fest. It's our annual gala event. I don't like the term gala. I think that makes it sound fancier than maybe
Fancy.
it is.
How about
Soiree?
soiree?
I did attend the soiree.
So I was there.
A lot of fun.
I was there before I knew you.
Yeah.
I was there too. That was a lot of good eats.
Yeah. So this is similar to that in format, really. It's where we work with local Richmond chefs to provide a variety of dishes for folks to try, sort of the best from around our service area. And this year's event's going to be at Main Street Station on Friday, May 3rd. It's a busy week for nonprofit events.
Yeah.
What's going on that weekend?
I don't know why that fell out like that.
Yeah,
but
I've got something Wednesday that week and something Saturday also that week,
it's packed. There's like multiple things per night.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a couple other things on that Friday night. I won't give them any free advertising right now, But yeah, there's a lot of really great events. The Richmond nonprofit space is well supported, and I'm sure we won't have problems with attendance at any of those.
Yeah,
We
you
all
guys
have
are
our
huge.
communities.
Yeah.
The Zest Fest is going to be a great time, kind of a different format for this year a little bit. We did away with the silent auction. We're moving into the live auction only, kind of changing up the event a little bit, and hopefully the new venue, the new date, drive some new attendance and, some more excitement around an event that we've been doing now for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Zest Fest goes back quite a ways with the organization and has been one of the top nonprofit events in Richmond for quite some time.
Just to circle back, way back, you mentioned about people still calling it the Central Virginia Food Bank. That's a very Richmond type statement. This is a kind of an old new town where there's like a lot of old traditions and families. Mm-hmm. The whole north side versus south side thing, which you don't understand, and because we're not originally from here,
right.
I don't get that stigma. But yeah, that's just when you said that, I was like, man, that's so Richmond.
Yeah, and that's what I gather from people too. Great town, love Richmond. Not a negative thing to say. We love being here and have just taken advantage of everything here, and we really like it.
It's quirky for sure.
But it is certainly a quirky spot to be.
And there's old things. Right.
I always have the joke about I live what I would consider to be the west end of town, but there's so much more west of where I am. And what used to be the West End is further east of me.
Right.
So there's like this, when it depends on who I talk to, whether or not my definition of West End is acceptable.
Well, what part of town?
We live out like Three Chopped and Parham area, kind of over by Regency Square Mall.
The Upper West End.
Maybe. I don't. So it's not Short Pump,
right?
Because that's certainly the West End, and it's not Libby, the Libby Mill area, which I guess used to be the West End, or there's the near West End.
Right.
But the amount of time somebody spent in Richmond affects the way they receive my definition of West End.
Right.
Yeah. And now it'll be Charlottesville will be the West End before too long. Or Goochland Courthouse will be the West End.
They
now.
might fight us on that.
Yeah.
All right, so Zest Fest and any other, do you guys do a golf tournament or anything like that?
I don't know that we have one this year. We've had in the past folks where we've been the benefiting charity of a golf tournament, but we don't sponsor our own golf tournament right now. It's something we're open to if anybody out there is interested in pulling together a golf tournament for us where, come talk to me.
Right on. There is a ton of work that goes into those.
Yes.
We're doing the one for Synapse.
Yeah.
I've done it the past 2 years, and it's a load of work.
Golf tournaments are something in the nonprofit world that are less so here, but definitely more so when I lived in LA, that are becoming less and less cool of a thing to do because of the amount of uptake and because the clientele is sort of homogenous for the folks that attend a golf tournament, and we're throwing a very specific type of event in order to please a very specific crowd and to get their money. Sometimes it can be seen that way, and that's something that coming to Richmond that I was interested in seeing that golf tournaments are so prevalent here, but I think the culture is very different here from what we were seeing when I lived in LA.
We're probably 5 to 10 years behind too.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. You're getting caught up. You got sour beers here now, so that's something I saw 5 years ago in LA. So that's
Yeah, the brewery scene here is obviously exploding.
And that's been one of the best things about living here, honestly. There's a lot of really great folks out there doing new stuff with that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So let's talk about how people can get involved. I know there are tons of ways to volunteer, tons of ways to drive awareness, so have at it.
I'll go back to the Give Help or Get Help. Our website's a great place to go to learn more about the work that we do. You can sign up to volunteer there. Feed More doesn't happen without volunteers. And most nonprofits don't happen without volunteers, and there's a tremendous value to your time being spent. I believe that there's a number that's put out every year for the average value, or what a volunteer's hour is worth in dollars. And it's something like $26 an hour that's used to calculate how organizations are meant to value volunteer time.
Wow.
So when you think about that, you're coming down for a couple hours of time. That's like giving us $100 in terms of your time spent with us. And we really appreciate that from our volunteers. And we have a capacity and need for sometimes up to 200 people a day. All of our Meals on Wheels are delivered by volunteers. That's I think close to 100 routes a day around our service area that people go out and drive and deliver hot meals. We run 2 shifts of around 40 a day in our kitchen. Our community kitchen prepares 3,000 meals a day. Those are for Meals on Wheels and our Kids Cafe program and things like that. So
that's got to be we'll circle back on that kitchen. I want to hear about the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen's cool. We'll come down and give you a tour someday.
It's got to be massive.
It's huge. Yeah.
3,000 meals a day.
Yeah, 15,000 meals a week. Handful of professional staff there. There are Feed More employees, but a lot of the prep work and on is done by volunteers. On any given day, you roll in there. You've got volunteers peeling and cutting carrots and potatoes and packaging meals and getting the stuff ready. And it's an interesting environment. You get people out of their comfort zone, putting them in the kitchen.
Yeah, I would definitely be uncomfortable there.
Yeah. I don't like. I worked in restaurants for a while. I'm not comfortable in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
And in a restaurant or industrial kitchen like that, too many bad memories.
I cook all my meals on one day. So.
There you go.
All right.
So that's one. So there's all kinds, so there's more volunteer opportunities in that. I mentioned those driving Meals on Wheels, working in the kitchen. There's also sorting donated food. We get a lot of food in from the community that has to all be checked for dates. And open cans and things like that, and then we have to sort it and package it for distribution to our agencies. So we aren't just sending the box of food you bring in to us that says Feed More on the side that you got from your office isn't what goes to the agency. Right. We pull it in and sort it into other boxes that make up, one box will have canned vegetables in it or spaghetti sauces or different product boxes that we've designed that then are what go out to the agencies.
Right. So somebody doesn't get all beans.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, or doesn't take all the good brand, or all the green beans are gone because an agency came in and got them all, or however it works.
Right on.
Yeah, we like to try to divide up in terms of what's perceived quality and things like that, and get as much out to our folks in a fair way as possible.
And Feed More is located. We're in Scott's Addition right now. You're right across the boulevard.
Yeah.
And back in that industrial area. Is that still considered Scott's?
Yeah, it's Scott's Addition. I like to think it's kind of like a little nonprofit way there. The SPCA is there. Helping Hands is there. Salvation Army is right there, right on Road Miller. There's a nice little stretch of busy nonprofit folks doing a lot of great work down there.
I love that. this part of town was not like this when I first came here, and I really love what's happening to this area. So if you want to come volunteer, it's down in Scott's Addition. Yeah. All right, cool. What about awareness? How can people help you with awareness?
So I think there's some great work to be done through social media. Like that's kind of the biggest awareness platform out there right now.
Absolutely.
We go on our social media pages, like our stuff, share our stuff. We're always putting out posts about new things we have going on, trying to tell the stories of folks that we work with, and even fun stuff. So they put up a recipe, I think, once a week on Facebook. That's from our kitchen. That's a fun thing that we're very much focused around food and the value that brings spiritually, emotionally, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
Food has an important place in our life, and we do some cool posting around what that means to people. And you can always attend our events and come down, learn more about the work that we do. We like to talk about Feed More a lot. There's a good portion of us there where that's a big part of our job. So that, we're always happy to come out to your company, to a private event that you're hosting, or other nonprofit organizations. We're happy to come out and talk about the work that we do. I go to a lot of Rotary clubs. I'm a new member of the Rotary. Got my
Nice
pin on today. But that's the type of event that we'd like to go to and just talk more about the work that we do. We're a comfortable bunch, I think, to be around, and we're happy to show up wherever we're invited.
And so would you say that's mainly what your job is driving awareness, or is it also a good portion of fundraising?
It's both for me. Because it's corporate relations, it does lean heavily on the fundraising side, but I don't think that happens without awareness.
Okay.
If you don't have an awareness of what we do or an understanding of how our organizations can interact to the benefit of you as well as a corporation, then you're never going to be moved enough by what I'm saying unless you know more about what we do.
There you go. And what was I going to circle back on? Oh, the social media, and it's an interesting way you're doing that, and it's the right way to do social media, even for, like, we can talk about anything, a business, a personal person. The selling and the asking has to be a minimum. It really does. It has to be give. And even though you're a nonprofit that needs so much help, you're giving back with a recipe and giving back with food knowledge. That's exactly how it should be done. So props to you guys for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, man. So that's about it all I had for Feed More. Did you have anything else for Feed More? It's really your chance to talk about anything else that we missed.
I'm drawing blanks right now. I know there's usually, I'm able to talk about the organization at great length.
Well, we have
a lot of really great things happening, and I think it speaks a lot to the value of Richmond that an organization like Feed More can exist with the support that it does. The fundraising dollars that come in, the support that we get from the community in other ways, when people participate in cause marketing for us is just fantastic. It's not something that I see happening in other places as effectively as it is in Richmond, I think. And I'm no expert, I guess. I don't travel around and look at those things, but the Richmond community, from a business perspective, from individuals, is really pulled around Feed More in a way that I think is really helpful.
For the size of the city, the nonprofits that this town supports is crazy.
It's a lot.
It's this Feed More, and then there's UNOS, and then Caritas is a behemoth of an organization that has massive facilities, and so it's surprising that a town this size can support these massive organizations like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's Habitat, a ton of great animal charities in town. I mean, everybody doing really great work, and I think it's cool that those people are doing it, and then that Richmond is also so receptive to being supportive of it. Richmond
loves their dogs.
They do.
Yeah, there's Richmond Animal League, SPCA. The one I always go to is Richmond Animal League because they're in Synapse. They do some crazy good stuff. I love that organization.
Yeah, they've been at a couple events where we have for the combined Viginia campaign, the CVC, where we'll go and set up tables to talk about the work that we do. And they always bring an animal, and that always draws a ton of attention away from. All the other charities kind of joke about, oh, of course we could have brought a dog or whatever, which is great for them. I think that's fantastic. It's just always a funny thing. I can't bring a hungry senior to talk about the work that we do. That would get some attention too, but
not the good kind. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, if you want to see how much Richmond's into the dogs, you go to something like Wolfstock. Mm-hmm. Have you been out to that?
No, I haven't.
It's just one awesome nonprofit after another helping dogs. So there's so many.
When I've heard of the Fur Ball, which is the I think maybe it's SPCA's event or Animal League's event. It's where they let you bring your dog to the Jefferson. It's one of the top fundraising events in town, I guess.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, the
that's
Richmond
awesome.
Fur Ball, which is a super high-profile nonprofit event. That I think is just an interesting one and shows that Richmond really is into its animals.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect the Jefferson would allow dogs in that place.
Yeah.
It's very hoity-toity. All right, man, that's about it. I'll give you a chance to talk about anything, parting words, announcements, shout-outs, anything on your mind.
Yeah, take a look at our website and learn more about what we do and think about having us out at your next social club meeting or company, or I'm happy to come out and talk to whoever will listen to me about the work that we're doing.
Awesome.
I might at some point ask for money also, but
well, that's part of the deal.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's why we're here, right?
Right.
But we just really like talking about the work that we do, and that there is no better sales pitch than just presenting a portfolio of high quality programs.
Yeah, and it's it's a pretty basic human need we're talking about here, and it's it's overlooked, and there's a lot of nonprofits that deal with things that aren't as basic as hunger, and it's amazing what you guys do, and we all appreciate it.
I just remember making the pitch to people about historic ships and fundraising. It's a whole different niche of people interested in supporting historic ships versus hunger. And one last shout out to our programming staff at Feedmore and our programming and operations team that actually do the work of feeding people. I think we sometimes forget to mention that our job as fundraisers and in development and in talking about the organization, we wouldn't have anything to talk about if they weren't good at their jobs.
Right.
And they're very good at what they do.
They're the machine, right?
The machine, exactly. The machine works well, and that makes it easier for us to be able to get out there and be positive and spread a positive message about the work that we do, because it's good work. Yeah.
So does the Iowa reek of diesel fuel everywhere?
Yes, it does. And I still have a coat that smells like the Iowa that I keep set aside at home so it doesn't lose the smell, because I love ship smell. My wife used to hate it.
Oh, it's awful.
And it's everything smelled like, because all ships smell like that.
Well, I was wondering, because the only one I've been able to tour is the North Carolina. Mm-hmm.
And great ship, too.
Incredible. And I had to do it in 2 spurts, because we got to one point out in the belly of the belly of the ship, and the diesel smell was just
too much,
so strong. It was like a summer day. It was still too hot. I was like, all right, we got to break this up.
We used to have that problem too. I'd be given, if you'd let me when I worked there, and I wasn't a tour guide there. I worked in the administration. Tour guides were under my purview for a while. But I would occasionally just walk out on deck and take folks on a tour or be a part of VIP tours, and it would be 5 or 6 hours. I stopped noticing the smell, and I'd seen my visitors looking a little queasy, or folks being like, "It really stinks in here. It's hard to breathe." And I'm like, "Oh,
is it?
Sure. Let's go back above deck." I'll talk about the ship like that for 12 hours. I used to be able to. I don't know that I could do that extent anymore, but.
Well, the history in those ships is so amazing. The thing that tripped me out is how tight everything is. It's you think that would only be necessary on a submarine, but how they hung beds, 4 stacks from the ceiling. There was doorways that I couldn't get through. I'm 6'5".
You're a taller guy. You'd have
200 something, and there was some places. There were some rooms that I tried to get into and just couldn't even fit.
For sure. I always loved some of the engineering spaces. They were like the little Alice in Wonderland hatches. The hatch itself starts 2.5 feet off the ground, so you gotta kind of come through at an angle and crunch down.
And you're like, somebody worked in that little thing 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, all day there was somebody in there. They were in for long periods of time, and in the heat. There was no air conditioning in World War II when the ship first entered service. And imagine being in the South Pacific or during the Korean War. The Iowa-class battleships, a couple of them were there, and it was cold. So cold. It was one of the coldest winters in combat on record. And those ships were out there on the ocean, and guys were freezing. And that's when you wanted to work in the boiler room or the engine, someplace where it was super hot.
The guns on those ships just amaze me. It's like a gun shell, just like times 100.
Yeah.
All right, there's the projectile, and here's some padding, and then here's some gunpowder.
Yeah, here's 600 plus pounds of gunpowder, 610-pound bags of gunpowder.
There was a guy in Synapse, and I forget what he did, but his father was on one of those ships.
Yeah.
In World War II, and he talked about it for a second. I was like, so how is his? And he worked on the firing the gun.
Yeah.
I was like, so how is his hearing? 98% deaf.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. The Navy did that for a long time, and that's something that's controversial now. The 5-inch guns, the big guns, anything going off near your ears over time is gonna damage you. And
it can damage your brain too.
Yeah,
TBI
for sure.
Over and over.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that some veterans, even from Vietnam, are still dealing with, and they had proper hearing protection available and stuff like that. It just wasn't cool to use it, or wasn't as heavily enforced, or not like it is today. They take hearing loss very seriously in the military today.
Anyway, that was a little tangent. Sorry.
Yeah, don't get me talking about ships. I'll do it all day. We'll forget about Feedmore altogether.
This is for me, so sorry. All right, man. Well, that's it. I thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show, Joshua, and it was a pleasure. And everybody have a productive and positive day. Cheers.
Thank you.